Mr. Chairman. That's a good thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, nice to see you. It was great to have you out at Sunny Slope Ranch, our family ranch, where a couple years ago woke up to snow on a late May morning and had a great discussion in our barn with 70 neighbors. First thing I asked the secretary to do was pull out a cell phone and see how his reception was. There wasn't any. So I appreciate your comments on the broadband and the importance of rural broadband. I wanted to follow up on some of my colleagues' comments on that, specifically looking at precision agriculture and the importance of precision agriculture and the technology, all the cool things that our producers will be able to do, how that affects many states, including mine, where ag's the economic engine, and how that affects the economy of this country. It's extremely important. We had a report that was required with regards to that. Is your agency on track to get that published?
I think it is. In fact, I'm not sure. I'm surprised it hadn't been already out there, but I have seen it probably in a couple of weeks, and it should be there. But I appreciate your interest in that. Obviously, those of us who thought we lived in rural America have not been to the Sandhills, where your nearest neighbors sometimes are 50 or 60 miles away. So nonetheless, it's important. You mentioned certainly one of the key components. Precision agriculture sounds neat, but what it does is less inputs and more productivity, more outputs, and that's really what it matters. It lowers the footprint. It's better for all of our environment and other things. So that's why it's so important, along with the e-commerce and health and education, all those kind of things. That's why we need that moonshot in the Sandhills as well as all across the country.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when we look at trade policies, a lot of discussion on that as well today. Part of what we had in the Farm Bill was a consolidation of trade programs that are out there, and hopefully to have a more efficient trade program going forward with some flexibility. Where are we on that, on the development of looking at a more efficient trade program so that we can really target some areas?
I'm not quite sure what you mean about more efficient trade programs. We're obviously putting money in our market access programs to develop more markets, efficiency in trade programs, working with collaborators and exporters all across the sectors of especially crops and our primary crops, and working on China on their traceability and age of that Nebraska beef, and MRLs regarding residue limits and those kind of things we continue to work on, but I'm not exactly certain of what you're talking about with efficiency of trade.
Well, I viewed it as, I guess, a better use of taxpayer money when we consolidated some of those trade programs in the Farm Bill so that we can, I think, target areas so we don't have the duplication.
Well, I think in the market facilitation program, or really the market access program, and the $200 million of that market facilitation program we're doing, working with 57 collaborators, these are the industry sectors that know where they can go to find other markets. I think that is increasing the efficiency of it. We're holding our partners accountable, not just for outputs, but outcomes. I had a pretty stern discussion with one of our regional area organizations from our part of the world over, it didn't look like they were meeting the criteria for productivity.
Good. And then I wanted to ask you about the vaccine bank.
Sure.
As you know from your training and profession, what an outbreak of foot and mouth disease would do to states around this country, but the country as a whole. What measures are being taken by the agency to stand up the program of that vaccine bank, and are you in any kind of coordination with individual states on being able to involve industry stakeholders?
Both with industry and our state ag partners, those are the networks when we talk about the three legs of the labs, and then the network or early detectors and biosecurity measures. This is the way it works. It works from the industry to our state regulators, to USDA, APHIS in that way. Your own former Secretary of Agriculture, Greg Ibaugh, is very familiar with these issues and has done a marvelous job in working with ahead of time as we saw these things coming. I think the industry did a good job in identifying the threats, and you all responded with resources in order to get that done.
Would you say that's a top priority, that we need to get that funded?
I think, again, the funding is sufficient currently until we identify probably what the level of the vaccine bank should be, and that may require more funds.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.